Y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Toby and this is May's Morsels. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how I use Google Slides to create a classroom layout. So a layout of my classroom so that after I get the master schedule for the school, I can design my schedule and then plan how I'm going to lay out my classroom. So come along. If you want to follow along, you can open up a blank Google Slides document or PowerPoint. You could do this in PowerPoint as well. And come along with me and let's see how I created a layout for my classroom for this school year. Okay, let's start with the layout. So on the left is a cubby area that I'm not really going to address in the Google Slides layout. Then we have this long wall of whiteboards. You can see all the stuff that I have from when I first moved into my classroom. There's the smartboard board on the back wall, and then another long white wall, the sink area where the ASL interpreters sat, and then there's an office in the back. There's plenty of storage along the office wall and plenty of open space in the middle of the room. So that kind of gives you a layout of my room and then all of the things that I had to organize when I first moved into this space last year. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is open up a blank Google Slides document and you'll need to name your file. I just named mine with the school year and then class layout. Then you're going to go into shapes and you're primarily going to be in shapes most of the time. I just chose a simple rectangle to do the outline of my classroom. And you can play around with the borders and the fill and all of that. You can make that however you want. I did the wall borders a little thicker and then the fill was just plain white. Now, if you think back to my classroom video, I'm going to start with the back wall, the window wall. So there's two windows and the active board. So I'm just going to use rectangle shapes to show those fixed objects in my room. And I chose to just fill all the shapes with the light blue color. And then I labeled the boxes. I'll come back around to the windows later. I forgot to label those at the beginning. And I just decided to do those not without such a dark border. The rest of this is just you think about what's in your room and you just copy and paste or choose a new shape and you just place those things where they need to go in your classroom. And I am spatially challenged, so actually even going through this process of putting things in a layout was very difficult for me. I did not have a chance to measure my classroom, so I'm guessing, and nothing is to scale, of course. So now I'm placing the two whiteboards. There's one on the right side and one on the left side wall. And then there's going to be a bunch of resizing. Are the bulletin boards that are on either side of the whiteboards. All right, now it's time for the door. There's my classroom door. So remember when you walk in the door, off to the left is the cubby slash storage area. And I also use it as a sensory break area for students who need a sensory break. Really, I should not have put that cubby storage area on this classroom layout because later on you'll see how I struggle with putting the wall in. Really, that should just be off screen because I'm not concerned about organizing. So then I added the office door, and then this ceiling to floor curtain is important because the interpreters have a space back by that office door. And what we found out was without that curtain there, they just didn't have any separation like for lunch or planning time. And students were continually looking back and just watching the interpreters, like just very distracted. So once we put that curtain up, that gave the interpreters a place where they could eat lunch and plan and problem solve through some things. And it also helped with student engagement because they couldn't see what the interpreters were doing. Next, I added a filing cabinet that is behind that curtain. And then I forgot to add shelves in the back left corner that are fixed to the wall, and that's where my reading center is, my reading area with my classroom library. So I went ahead and added those shelves in there. Then there's another ceiling to floor curtain near the cubby sensory break area so that when students do take a sensory break, there is some visual separation in that space so that students can have some separation and do their sensory break in private. And then other students who are in there learning in the rest of the classroom are not distracted by the student who is getting a sensory break. More resizing, because I'm just, as I go through this, I'm realizing what parts of my classroom I have left out and where I need to squeeze some things in. There's where I remembered to label the windows. Okay, next I was attempting to add a time away area and I thought maybe I would label it with a text box, but I decided to use the little cloud shape. So in between the filing cabinet and the curtain is a time away area. So for students who are really struggling with being distracted and the behavior interventions weren't successful or they didn't take a sensory break or refused a sensory break or whatever, I do have a time away spot, which is just a stool or a beanbag on the floor with some visual supports to help students calm down and a timer. And so the time away area is that little square place next to the filing cabinet for students to go to time away if they need to calm down before they rejoin instruction again. And then behind that curtain there's also a sink area where I have a sink and I have floor cabinets and wall cabinets above and below the sink and the counter space. So there's lots of storage there, and we also keep the microwave there. And here's where I'm going to struggle placing that wall. Trying to figure out where the wall is and the office door and all that. It's a hot mess, but I tried. When I get back into my classroom, I will most likely take that section off and just have the bottom um, side of the classroom rectangle be that wall. Include the sensory, um, not include the cubby sensory break area. Next is the interpreter table. So this is where the ASL interpreters take their lunches, do their planning, and just kind of hang out when they have a quick break in between interpreting time. So that's going to stay as a permanent section in my classroom. Okay, now I'm over on the right side of the slide in that plain white space, and this is where I'm going to put all the moving parts, like the student desks, shelves, all the furniture and extra things that I will have to place in my classroom layout. So for right now, I'm just putting it over in this white space because I am not quite ready to figure out where everything is going to go yet for this school year. So I typically have 8 or 9 students, so I just did 8 student desks. I have 3 movable bookshelves, and then I have 2 rolling cubbies. They're kind of like cubbies that are for mail, but I put my leveled readers in there and they usually go over in the classroom reading area. I am not sure what I will put in there this year. So they're just those cubby slots. I labeled them cubby slots, but they're actually like rolling cubbies. Now I'm trying to figure out what shape to do for my small group table, which is a kidney table. So I chose that half circle type shape, but that table is typically where I work with students for small group or one-on-one time. Next, I have 2 other teacher tables in my room. So there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of people that have come in the past to help me out. And so each person who worked with students, I tried to have a table workspace for whoever came in to assist me in my classroom. So I have extra tables. Then I have a media desk, which I kept by my active board, and it has a power strip in it so that I could charge Chromebooks or the iPad or my laptop or whatever. And so there's the media desk. And then I decided to do text boxes to label some content areas. I'm not sure if I will end up using these, but I typically teach ELA and math. And in ELA, depending on the student need, it could be decoding, writing, reading comprehension, fluency, all of those things. So, and then I also sometimes teach modified content. So I have taught modified social studies, which is alternative standards. So there's that. And I'm not sure how, if I will have like a math area where students do math, or if I will just label where I have put the math resources and manipulatives and ELA stuff. I'm not sure yet how I will use those, but I thought I might have some content boxes to help label some areas. Then I realized I forgot the reading center, the classroom library, so I just did the other little cloud to label the classroom library. And then in the classroom library, there are also two couches, student-friendly couches that students can sit on to read. So I added those into um, the furniture section of the slide. So I guess later on this summer, we'll just figure out where everything's going to go. But thanks for watching. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Tell me, how do you prepare for how to arrange your classroom? This was my first time ever intentionally planning a future classroom layout. So I'm kind of excited to see where it leads. Like I said before, once I get my schedule and look at my kids' IEP times, then I kind of map out where I'm going to put resources and tables and desks and how I'm going to set everything up because the schedule guides the flow and the layout of my classroom. So, thank you for taking a morsel of your time to listen to this video. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have an awesome day. Let me know in the comments how you plan on arranging your classroom or what things you consider before you plan where to put things in your room. Thanks. Bye, y'all.